This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Sahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellowwall podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 391 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Borussia Dortmund's 2-1 win in Istanbul against Besiktas, and we will preview Sunday's game against Union Berlin. For all that and more, joins me the one and only Matthias Zug. Matthias, welcome to the show. It's good to have you back on. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, sorry for a bit of an absence, but it's kind of an insane work time right now for me until the end of October. But it is good to be back, especially on the back of 2 Dortmund victories now.
3.
3. Yeah, I'm just thinking in the manner of the last week.
Right.
So, no, it's overall not too many things to complain about, but I'm sure we'll find something.
Yeah, no, people who'll see the episode title will know that there will be something to be complained about. Yes, this is one of the few times where I actually know what the episode title will be before the show, just because I preemptively thought of a good pun. But more importantly, Matthias, I am intrigued. What did happen? What did the contractors exactly fix at your house last time that you couldn't make it, and you said they finally arrived? Was it your window thing, or what was it?
Oh no, the windows have been done. The windows got done in May. The stucco on the house got done in April, and we were waiting for new rain gutters since April, and they decided to just show up that morning. And so it was putting on new rain gutters and soffits and fascia. And so it was just a full day of drilling and hammering, and which is great when you're trying to get a baby to sleep too. So that was, I'm glad they showed up and finally did the work they were supposed to have done 5 months ago. And I understand things are difficult, but contractors are notoriously difficult at times. And so it was a heads up would have been nice. Let's just put it that way.
Here you are now, and you have the stage, if you will, to talk about Borussia Dortmund's first Champions League group stage match against Besiktas, which was a tiny bit nervous at the end, especially more nervous at the beginning. But between, let's say, the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, I think Dortmund had a pretty decent Champions League performance. Obviously, starting lineup wise, we had Mats Hummels back in the starting lineup next to Akanji. Meunier played, Guerrero played, then we had Brandt and Bellingham on the number 8 and Dahoud as number 6 again. So that changed instead of Witzel starting, and then of course Reus, Malen and Haaland sort of forming the top trio, if you will. Matthias, what are you making of this win, of these 3 points that are obviously, quite important because we have a very competitive group stage?
Yeah, it's a group stage. I remember when it was drawn, and I went, okay, it's going to be competitive, but I expect Dortmund to progress. Now, Besiktas are a decent side. Of course, they dramatically won the Turkish league last season. The difference maker for them, and this is for me the big nervous factor, is Miralem Pjanic, because I just think he is one of the best players in the last 10 years. Obviously he was the heartbeat at Juventus. The Barcelona weird chapter kind of thing, and then going to Besiktas, I was like, okay, this guy, because his passing range is undeniable. His set piece delivery, obviously proven, very, very good. He is an exceptional player with great vision. And so he's the kind of player that I feel like can present Dortmund with problems simply because of how extremely good of a passer he is. His vision and his execution as a playmaker to pick teams apart is phenomenal. And with Dortmund's backline the first time playing together from the beginning, you'd say your standard backline of Meunier, Akanji, Hummels, and Guerrero with Kobel behind. That's the first time they've started a match this season. And quite a few of them are still shaking off the rust. I mean, Meunier is shaking off the rust, even though I felt like he had a pretty decent game. Hummels is still shaking off the rust. Guerrero is still coming back, even though I thought he's done well. Really, the only ones that there's nothing to shake off rust-wise were Akanji and Kobel, who I think were two of the best players so far this season for Dortmund, despite the amount of goals that have been conceded, which I do not put on either Akanji or Kobel. I thought it was a good game. Yeah, the beginning was a little rough. Batshuayi had a great opportunity, Kobel with a fantastic save. And then, of course, at the end, conceding from a set piece, and then things got a little tense there for a little bit. But overall, if you look at the statistics, you would say it's a very tight match. I think Besiktas had slightly more possession. I think it was 52 to 48%. Dortmund and them had very similar shot statistics and stuff like that. But Dortmund had the better opportunities over the course of the entire match. I would make the argument that Dortmund really should have scored 4 goals. Haaland had a great chance. He didn't score. And then Ansgar Knauf had a phenomenal opportunity near the end where I still don't quite understand how that wasn't scored. Moukoko had a few good looks. I thought Moukoko looked fantastic. Malen, yeah, he still needs to score, but I think he's a fantastic player. I love watching him play. He's a true difference maker. I mean, and Bellingham might, give it another season, may go down as the best English young player Dortmund have ever had. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're looking at the position that Jude Bellingham plays, coupled with his age, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And he's only getting better. Only getting better. I mean, Sancho was always an attacking, creative, dribbling winger. You expect that from him. You don't really expect that from a traditional box-to-box player like Bellingham. And he's been lights out fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it was also great to see Brandt after an interesting performance against Leverkusen. I think we can call it Licht und Schatten. He had some great moments and some not so great moments. I thought overall he was relatively solid. Even though there was the one counterattack that they really should have finished with a goal in the first half. I think it was after the 1-0. I can't remember the exact timeline, but it was a great, basically 3-on-2 situation with Reus, Brandt, and Haaland, and they just couldn't quite pull the trigger in the end. But it was a good performance from Dortmund against a difficult side. Playing against a Turkish team in Turkey is always difficult because their home field advantage is amazing because they have absolutely amazing crowds in the stadium. And so this was a big, great way for Dortmund to start the Champions League group stage and puts them forward in the driver's seat for sure in this group, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've learned that because the stadium ground is a couple of meters below sea level, that apparently affects the quality of the field, and it's sort of called the sand pit or something like that. The pitch was absolutely atrocious, but on every point you've just made, you were, I think, absolutely correct. This game was really interesting to watch, and I mean, the first situation, I think, because you start with Pjanic, I thought it was chronologically quite correct because he had this amazing pass to Batshuayi, who then managed to round Hummels, and the reflex save from Kobel is absolutely fantastic. Besiktas only had 3 shots on goal, and the first one was, I think, in the 6th minute, and then Kobel had another save, which was really well done, where Batshuayi had a one-on-one situation against him in the, I think, 67th minute or so, where he closed down the angle nicely, and I for sure thought it was going to be a goal, knowing the quality of Batshuayi. And so, yeah, I'm just super happy with how Kobel is playing right now, and the command he has, and the way he's pushing himself after he makes this spectacular save. I've raved a lot about him in the past, but I like that, so far he hasn't made a single mistake not that I can recall. And, the presence he is having is, it's quite spectacular. And obviously that's to the detriment of Roman Bürki, who wasn't even in the squad. He didn't even make the trip to Istanbul because Dortmund are sending the clear signal that he is sort of out of the loop right now. But yeah, very happy with Kobel. I really do hope that he is a stronghold for Dortmund for years to come. I hope that he is willing to be a long-term thing and not, rising above the level of Dortmund and searching for greener pastures elsewhere at any point. Really hoping that he will be, there for 5, 6, 7 years or so. If he continues playing like that, I'm really happy that he is in Dortmund. I think he already has made a massive difference, even though they have conceded a boatload of goals. We obviously can talk about the sad piece at the end. I don't think Kobel can do much about this. But I think this game has so many talking points. The first one, obviously, to me, is the Kobel thing because he made this big save. But Meunier is another talking point. Matthias, I think his work rate is really impressive right now. Marco Rose today talked about him finding his feet and that he sort of, in the talks they had, shared that he just wants to forget about the previous season and, saying that he's capable of better things. And we all sure hope so. His crossing right now is quite tremendous. Another assist for him, second in a row. But he's more involved in Dortmund's attacks, and his defensive positioning has improved quite quickly, I would say. If you think about the performance, especially the first 20-30 minutes against Hoffenheim versus how he played against Besiktas, that's also night and day. So, a player that got a lot of shtick, if he's improving and can become a more viable option, that's obviously something we're all hoping for, especially since the alternatives are not really that great at the moment. So, it's sort of a must-do thing for Meunier, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to deliver. And what can we say about Jude Bellingham, Matthias? I mean, he has scored yet again, something that's sort of a new element, I would say. Had he started a little sooner against Freiburg, say, Dortmund might have even more points on their account right now in the Bundesliga. But be it as it is, it's quite tremendous how he is arriving and sort of playing himself into the hearts of every Dortmund fan, just with the attitude he's bringing to the game. And, Rose, I think, was asked today what his development has to do with Marco Rose. And I think he was very humble in saying that his predecessors have more to do with that than he does, because Rose hasn't been around for that long. But that being said, Matthias, I actually do think that there's a little bit that has to do with Rose's introduction. That's the diamond midfield, and I think that the number 8 position absolutely suits Bellingham tremendously, and the way he interprets is probably exactly how a coach would wish for. What are your thoughts on this Bellingham development, let's say, because since the summer and his stint with the English national team and at the Euros and whatnot, I feel like we can even almost talk about having an additional signing, because the improvement is just so stark.
Yeah, I mean, one of the areas that a lot of commentators out of England will point to is that Bellingham has often alluded to the fact that he wants to improve his goal scoring and his finishing. Which, if we think back to last season, he got into the positions quite regularly, but then the finishing was lax at times. I'm not going to say he's completely taken care of that, because he's so young. He's a teenager. There's still so much left from him. But you can definitely tell the confidence that he has. And we're not talking arrogant confidence. We're talking like leadership quality confidence in this kid is truly phenomenal. And you couple that with someone, he has a massive drive and a great work ethic, which are things that he also shares with, say, Erling Haaland, who's also young. I mean, think about it. He's 21 years old with 21 Champions League goals. That's crazy. But he also has an extreme drive to succeed, an extreme drive to win, and a phenomenal work ethic. If you have that as a young player, because we've seen young players at Dortmund who lacked those things, who had phenomenal talent, but just lacked the drive and the work ethic, and then it just didn't quite work out, ignoring any injuries or anything like that. Just those fundamental things that Bellingham has is really great to see. I mean, he's such a joy to watch. And for once, I mean, I always kind of chuckle when there are English commentators or American commentators and you have a Reina out there or Bellingham out there. You know, they tend to overly promote and gush about those players because of who the audience is, you know, ESPN or whatever. But in the case of Bellingham, it's completely warranted. It's not over the top homerism in that sense. Like sometimes I think with Reina, it kind of feels that way. But with Jude Bellingham, he's one of the best central midfield players in the Bundesliga, and he's a teenage kid. And there's still so much more to come from him. I just hope Dortmund can keep him for at least 2 more seasons. I think that would benefit him. He will eventually go to a Manchester, a Chelsea. I mean, you name it, one of the big English clubs. It makes complete sense that he goes back to England. Totally understand and support that, but just give us 2 more seasons. And what people like Haaland, Sancho, Reina, Pulisic before that, and now Bellingham are showing that extremely talented young players in their late teens, maybe early 20s, that are already fantastic professionals, they can see they can come to Dortmund in an environment challenged at the highest levels in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League and develop and become true great players. And he is blowing me away because Jadon Sancho at the same time in his development was not where he is. That's why I kind of made the flippant comment about he could be the best young English player Dortmund have ever had. And I stick to that. I really think that. I think Reina will be the best American young player Dortmund have ever had, but Jude Bellingham blows Reina out of the water. And it's fantastic because it's such a difficult position. The number 8 in that diamond, there's so much asked of you going forward and back, and there's so much you're isolated a few times, and he just does it fantastically.
Yeah, and now that he is getting the goals, I mean, the goal scoring is obviously one thing, but I also really witnessed or noticed how much better his 1v1 skills are. I mean, I've said before that not bringing in another 1v1 player like Sancho, could hurt Dortmund, but I feel like Dortmund have somewhat replaced it by just Bellingham stepping up a little. You know, the amount of headcounts he is winning now, and how intelligently he picks them is quite fantastic, and almost blindsided me because I really did not see it coming. That being said, I think Daniel Malen did smoke a couple of Besiktas players as well, where with one little fake, I think he gained like 5, 6, 7 yards or so, which was great to see. I think today this was actually Malen's best game. Rose said today that he needs to drastically improve his game against the ball. But that being said, I do see a workhorse on the field. I do see a player that battles for every ball, and I do see a player that knows how to use his own physique to guard the ball, to shield it from opponents. And there were a couple of situations where he was up against 2 or 3 players and still prevailed. And while he, I don't think, hasn't scored or assisted yet, I almost don't care because he's excelling in so many other things right now, which are sort of the fundamentals, and you just know the rest will come eventually because the talent is surely there. And if it's so that he scores a little more sporadically than we all hope for, say like Torgen Hazard, but excels in so many other things, and I'm also okay with it, to be honest, because if he's more of a support or a role player and maybe not the one that always has a finishing touch, then so be it. But if he manages to improve the entire team with his presence, no matter what his individual output is, then I'm really happy about that. But I have a hunch that give it a couple more weeks, the world will look a little different. And I'm sort of also rooting for him to actually score his first goal for Dortmund at home. So maybe Sunday would be a good opportunity, to be honest. Really happy about that. But Matthias, I'm afraid I have a tiny little rant in me, and I'll put out a disclaimer first because it's not going to be a rational rant. It's not going to be based on reason and logic. So whatever I'm about to say now is wrong, obviously, but that's how I feel. And I'm just so annoyed by the fact that Julian Brandt is injured now, because I think he is out for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, something like that. And he has played 20 minutes against Freiburg. Then he played 26 minutes against Hoffenheim. Then he had his first full 90 against Leverkusen. And now 45 minutes against Besiktas. And he's already injured again. Now, obviously, he did have COVID, but, this was Julian Brandt's chance because of Gio Reyna being out for several weeks, almost about a month. This was his big chance to break through the team and, change his career. And he had a full preseason, no international football in between, all the rest. And after not even 2 full games, he's injured. And to me, that's just super disappointing. That's super agonizing. Obviously, I can't say whether or not his professionalism wasn't up to par and it could have been prevented or not. But to me, that's just super frustrating. And, Julian, this was your chance, and I feel like you kind of ruined it. So, that's all I'm going to say, because it's just so agonizing. I don't know how you feel about it, Matthias, but we haven't even gotten a full good game out of Julian Brandt this season, just because he was so night and day against Leverkusen when he finally had his first 90 minutes. And the 45 he did play against Besiktas were good, but, I'm still waiting for like a proper 90-minute good performance from Julian Brandt, and I was hoping he was sort of working his way to it, and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's frustrating because we know how good he can be. It's the consistency is an issue, and at the end of the day, I know it's not very modern to talk about mentality with athletes. We should be beyond that theoretically, but I fundamentally disagree with that argument. I think athletic performances, like any of these type of performances, are extraordinarily mental. And the question with Julian Brandt is, does he have the mental fortitude to do it? He wants it. I don't think there's any denying that he wants to perform well on a consistent level. But is he actually capable of doing that without Kai Havertz? That's the thing. His best season was that last season with him and Kai Havertz together. And whereas Kai Havertz, I feel like, has regained his feet post Brandt, Julian Brandt has not. And a lot of hopes were pinned upon him. And he just has fallen. I don't want to say he's fallen flat, because he's had some great games. He's had some great moments, but he's fallen below expectations. And I don't know, when it comes to injury prevention, in terms of how much that is on him. When it comes to certain things that players can do, whether it's nutrition, workout routines, all that kind of stuff that can help prevent injuries. And sometimes you're just unlucky. There are players, you think of someone like Sebastian Deisler, who just couldn't catch a break in his career and was just constantly injured. Marco Reus had this huge stretch in his career where it seemed like every season he had some season-ending major injury. And nobody can doubt his work ethic and commitment. So it's frustrating. I feel like it's also frustrating for him to have this happen, especially because Dortmund have a lot of talent in his section, in the areas where he can play. And
well, not right now.
Not right now, but in general. But depends on how injuries move, right? If his takes 2-3 weeks and somebody else comes back in that time, he'll be back down in the pecking order to try and come back in. And that's difficult when someone's in the flow. There's always that saying, never change a winning team. And if you have a streaky player, how much do you trust him? Now, obviously, Marco Rose has enough trust in him to have started him in Leverkusen, started him against Besiktas. Yes, I understand players are out injured, so you're kind of limited with your options. But the question is, will that trust come back, and will it stay there once he has options? And right now, I would say probably not. And that's really frustrating for the talent that Julian Brandt is. He really needs to change things. Otherwise, this will be his last season at Dortmund. And he will maybe he'll go back to Leverkusen, or he'll play for kind of a middle pack Bundesliga side, which I think his talent is greater than that, but talent is only so much. There needs to be so much more that kind of combines with the talent.
I would have loved to see Julian Brandt play about 70 to 90 minutes each game against Union Berlin, then against Gladbach, then against Sporting, and then against Augsburg. I think these are the games that Dortmund will play before the next international break. And I think if you sort of add this together, you would have I guess about 6 games. And, with him being consistently in the starting 11 for 6 games after having what was called a very good preseason, I'm sure we would have seen an entirely different Julian Brandt than what we have now. Maybe there's still a chance for him to feature against Sporting and against Augsburg and then against Mainz, maybe after the international break, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to be the same thing, just because also I think he will have to be nursed back yet again. I don't think if he is fit against Sporting on the 28th of September that you would then play him for another 90 minutes. It's just a whole different scenario now. And I'm really miffed about it, I'll be honest, because I really want Julian Brandt to succeed at Dortmund. And there was really a golden opportunity. It was sort of like the stars aligned for him. And, he started with this goal against Leverkusen, if you will. And now, this injury is just super vexing. I don't know if it's his fault or not. So it's just annoying. So let's just leave it at that. What also is annoying, Matthias, is the third kit or the cup kit or whatever it's called, and the entire fiasco that has been produced by Borussia Dortmund. I mean, when Puma introduced their cup kits, in general, Dortmund did not feature because theirs had leaked previously. It was the same kit, other than that it did not say BVB09, but it said Dortmund in the middle, and there was no badge. Apparently, Dortmund did change that and added the badge, which I didn't really see until I saw some close-ups. But I mean, the shitstorm, if you will, was kind of warranted, and yeah, I don't know. Before I even continue, what are you making of this entire debacle?
Well, I care very deeply about kits. It's one of the big talking points for me preseason. No, I actually don't really give a shit about kits, but in general, so I like the idea of like the neon back, because I still have a lot of kits out of the 90s with that traditional Dortmund neon of the 90s. But being so busy, the entire kind of shitstorm passed me by until I watched the game and I went, what the hell are they wearing? And it just irritated my eye. I'm like, okay, BVB09 on there. That's weird. Okay. I'm digging the font, but other than that, it's just weird. And I'm like, okay, there's no club badge. And then I think it was somebody's substitution. I'm like, okay, I guess, okay, there is a badge. I can kind of see it. Like it's 3D, but you can't really see the damn thing. And, whether you like the neon concept or not, I mean, honestly, I think the kit would have been fine if they would have not done the BVB 09 or the Dortmund and just had the club badge in black on there and you would have seen it clearly. I think then it's a perfectly decent neon kit. And
yeah. Why aren't you not at Puma earning millions for kit designs? Because that's a no-brainer. You just said it. You just had the solution to this problem. Why can it be fixed?
Well, Stefan, if there's one thing I've noticed in my centuries of life on this planet, is that sometimes the simplest solutions to not very complex problems are very often ignored. And the same can be said here too. I mean, it's not rockets. It's literally not rocket science. It's designing a freaking football kit. That somehow nobody went, hey guys, about that. Or maybe somebody did, and they got shouted down. I don't know how I'm not in those meetings, but the decision makers who signed off on this, I mean, come on, man. You got to do better. Again, I don't really give a shit about kits. It's not something I care about. I haven't bought a kit since Dortmund's first championship season or second championship season under Klopp. I can't remember, whichever one they got the additional star. That's the last time I bought a kit because I just don't care enough. But this is just, it's irritating. It's really, really irritating. It's like somebody overthought a situation to try to be overly, I don't even know what. I was going to say modern, but I don't know if that's even modern. It's just weird. It's like, we're going to be so minimalist, nobody even knows who the fuck we are. That's just stupid. And so, yeah, just change it for the next game. Anybody who bought it, refund them the money or offer them a free new kit and just move on to Julian Brandt playing better when he gets back, because I care about that a little more. But yeah, this kit, I mean, in general, the design's great, but that's kind of an important element that can be easily fixed. So just do it. Okay, you got money.
I mean, the problem is, and let's take a look at the Champions League shirt that I own. I think it's from the 2014-15 season, or sometime around that. But it was after Dortmund won the second championship or something like that. It was long story short, the second star on the kit is not where it's supposed to be, or the two stars are not there where they're supposed to be, because it was sort of produced with one star, which was right above the badge, and then they just added another one. So it looks a little odd. It's not symmetrically shaped, just because apparently, the pre-production for kits might be a bit long, and it's hard to change things on the fly then. Be that as it may, I still think Dortmund should have just scrapped this whole thing. When this shirt leaked, they sort of said that they seen the criticism. I mean, Carsten Kramer, the chief of marketing at Dortmund, was in the Kicker Meets the Zone podcast, and he said, and that was before the game, we have not presented an international jersey together with Puma. Remember when Puma had this presentation of all their other European side Champions League kits, Dortmund was absent. Because Kramer said it was stupidly leaked incorrectly, but the leak was so bad that it caused so much criticism, which was then justified in the matter. So of course, we not only took the criticism to heart, but considered how to correct the issue. So obviously, Dortmund fans yesterday, by and large, not very happy. There was even a banner opposite of the headquarters by the B1 at the Rheinland, where it sort of said that they're, the fans at their wits' end. They're, running out of patience with this. And today, Puma CEO Björn Gulden, he apologized. He is quoted, and I have the translation here via Stefan Bienkowski. He said, "We regret the anger of the fans and would like to apologize to them. We really took the feedback to heart and will take into account for future jerseys, just like in the past." So Bienkowski adds that obviously Puma should be acutely aware of the concerns from Dortmund fans, because they're a German company and their CEO is not only a former Bundesliga player, but also Puma are a 5% stakeholder of the club, so they might be even more intertwined with Dortmund than they are with other teams. So it's been a bit of a shit show, and I can totally understand the frustrations of fans. And while I also agree with the notion that it's only a kit and there are more important things than sport in general, and especially a third cup kit, I think it's totally okay to be a bit frustrated with that. And thirdly, I just think the kit is ugly. I think if you go for a more minimalist style, then the whole thing at the front needs to go. I think there should have just been a black badge, just like you said, and not something you can't even see. And I think the major point of criticism has been that the commercialization of football sort of taking away the identity of clubs, and removing the badge sort of to many fans is sort of trying to, peel away more of the club's identity ever so slightly. And it's just a big thorn. So that all being said, I think the changes the club did make are insufficient after sort of promising on Twitter and via other outlets that they would understand the criticism, because clearly they haven't quite done that. And so it's just another loss for the Dortmund PR department, which I think needs to do a little better, and their cooperation with Puma needs to improve a little, because I think overall Dortmund haven't been blessed with the most beautiful kit designs, and I think that other kit designers, say Nike or so, could do a much better job than Puma are currently doing. But it's all subjective, and if this third Champions League kit comes available for like $5 or $10, I still might get it, just so roadcast can see me when I'm cycling on the road. So just like as a traffic cone, I would use it. But long story short, it's been kind of botched by Dortmund, and feels like a needless thing, especially since the Sporting situation is going quite okay right now. I really do hope that Dortmund learn from that. I mean, I have nothing against the neon in itself. I just think it could have been done better. I mean, maybe the kits even look good in person because they have all these little Dortmund badges ingrained on them. I don't know if you've seen this, Matthias.
No, I don't look that closely. That's like, if I have to hold it in front of my face to see the intricacies, you've already lost me at that point. I mean, I remember
decades,
10 years ago, maybe. Colorado Rapids did a new jersey where it looked like it was like a stripe. It was crimson kind of color, maroon color, and then a darker crimson stripe going across it on the front and back. And actually, if you look closely at the stripe, it's the name of every season ticket holder written in there. And I thought that was a really cool touch as an homage to those fans. And then I'm okay with it. But when it gets that intricate in general, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Last point that really annoys me though is, so you have these super bright yellow badges on there that nobody really sees, and you think you solved the problem, but why wasn't that yellow thing on the goalkeeper's jersey? I didn't see it on Gregor Kobel, and if you would add it to another shirt that didn't have that non-contrast, then you would think, well, at least we would see it on the other shirt, but it wasn't there. So I don't understand that at all. So please help me out here, Puma, but why couldn't you also just put it on a goalkeeper? Maybe that would have helped matters just the tiniest bit. I don't know, but yeah. Let's just move
Stefan,
on.
I've been in product design meetings a lot over my career, and you occasionally get the people that are like, I'm so smart, I'm so brilliant, and so avant-garde in this design, hear me out. And people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it just doesn't come off. But given whatever contract you have, or who's in power where, or who has the final say on creative direction, they just can't let go. Like, they're like, no, but everyone disagrees with me, but everyone is wrong. Why can't you see my vision, you plebes? And I kind of maybe theorize, this is total conspiracy theory here, that maybe a similar situation came here. Somebody just had a quote unquote brilliant idea in design. This is totally avant-garde. No one's ever done this for good reason. And maybe we try it, and well, it didn't come off. So hopefully it'll get changed. But thankfully we have way more Bundesliga games to watch than Champions League games. So we'll be able to just watch the Bundesliga.
I'm also not a big fan of having sort of one template designed for all of your teams. I feel like there should be a bit more individualism in your designs for your clubs. Just saying. But, because it just feels even more so that your kit designs are off the rack. I'm not a big fan of that either. But let's just move on, because Dortmund do have a Bundesliga game on Sunday against Union Berlin, who right now are 8th in the table and are very impressive. They only had their first loss this Thursday at the hands of Slavia Prague in their first ever European not competitive game, because they did have qualifiers, I guess, for the Conference League, but that was their first group stage game. 3-1 loss against Slavia Prague, as I previously said, which is good, because that means they also had some travel to do during the week, and even better from a Dortmund perspective, they had a sending off in the 40th minute, so they went down to 10 men for the majority of the game. So I hope there are more tired legs in that Union side than that there are in Dortmund's. But that being said, they had a quite sort of impressive run. Maybe not the scoreless draw against Augsburg, but they had a 2-1 win against Gladbach. They had a 2-2 draw against Hoffenheim and a 1-1 draw against Leverkusen. So in that regard, I think Dortmund will have a really strong opponent to face on Sunday, who really do know what they're doing under Urs Fischer. Matthias, first question. I wish I had an Union fan here on to discuss this with us, but sadly they are all still too hungover from their trips to Prague. So you will have to answer this. How the hell did Union manage to stay in the Bundesliga at this point and even play in European football? Something that I personally would have never predicted.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have predicted at that point either. I think they came in with a game plan. They stuck to the game plan. I remember their first Bundesliga match where they got absolutely trashed by Leipzig. And everybody thought, okay, they're just going to go down in flames. And obviously that wasn't the case. They're also helped by the fact that, Schalke happened. And there are just teams that are just really, really bad. And they have a game plan that works. They stick to it. They are flexible enough against teams that will try to also low block them. They understand how to break that down a little bit. And they gain from the advantage that, they're a team that has to be beaten, in the sense of, if you want to play for the title, if you want to play for Europe, if you do want to make sure that you don't get relegated, you have to beat a side like Union Berlin. You don't have to beat Dortmund. You don't have to beat Bayern, in people's heads, or Leipzig or whoever. But you have to beat Union Berlin. So the opposition will open up at times. And that really helps Union's style. Plus the fact that Dortmund are really big on giving them max points every season. That's like a very charitable thing from Dortmund to do. And that's why I'm really concerned. It's like, before Hamburg were kind of Dortmund's bogey team for a while. And Union Berlin are definitely that. Thankfully, Son does not play for them. But it's a side that I think will frustrate the ever-living hell out of Dortmund. They will look very closely at what Freiburg did and probably emulate it. The big difference is that Union Berlin are even better at set pieces. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Stefan, but Dortmund really suck at set pieces.
No, never.
Thanks
for bringing it to my attention, Matthias.
Yeah, it's like a 20-year thing, at least, that Dortmund somehow...
When was the first time hashtag set pieces was trending? It was around 2014 or 15 or something like that.
It's been a while. It's been an ongoing thing, regardless of who's on the bench, regardless of the players, regardless of the keeper. It's a thing. And Marco Rose, I remember when he was at Gladbach once, kind of jokingly in an interview said, we don't even practice set pieces. And I'm like, oh, well, then he'll fit to Dortmund. Because Dortmund seem like they don't practice set pieces. And we know Union Berlin that is one of their huge strengths.
I don't know. Now, I think Dortmund practice conceding set pieces, because you can't be this bad without training.
That's true. The main thing is, try not to concede the same goal twice. That would already be an improvement over last season. Mark the players that are good at the heading and stuff. And Max Kruse is just that weird wildcard. I'm not a fan of Max Kruse. I don't genuinely like the guy. I think he's kind of a tool, but He's really good at what he gets paid to do, and he's going to be a pain for Dortmund. This is going to be an exceptionally frustrating, difficult time for Dortmund against Union Berlin. I'm going to make sure I don't look at Twitter because Dortmund Twitter is going to lose its ever flippin' mind again, because that's what happens against teams like Union Berlin. Odds are Dortmund's going to have all the possession. Dortmund's going to have a ton of shots, and Union Berlin are going to score a set-piece goal or two. That's just what happens. The key thing is Dortmund cannot squander their chances. They have to be clinical. They have to be more clinical than they were against Besiktas. They have to use their chances, and that is the key. If Dortmund use their chances and try to not concede stupid set pieces and bad positions, I'm not talking about direct shots. Now, obviously, that can always happen. Vincenzo Grifo type set piece goal, those are okay. There's not much you can do there, but it's those indirect free kicks that just kill Dortmund. It's the indirect set pieces.
Yeah, not give away stupid fouls, maybe. Yeah, put that on the top of the list.
Stupid fouls in your own third. That's just try to be more disciplined. And unfortunately, the players that are very guilty of that are the fullbacks for Dortmund. They're very guilty of giving up set pieces in positions where they don't have to, where the player is not a threat. A lot of times they're moving away from the goal. They foul and boom, now you're in that indirect set piece country that Dortmund suck at defending. I don't care who's in goal. I don't care if you're doing man marking, zone marking, combo marking. It's really going to be difficulty. And with Union Berlin, they are exceptional at that. So that's the gameplay has to be like, just don't concede the shitty set pieces and use your chances, because they aren't going to be frequent, but when they are presented, you have to score. You have to. And ideally, Malen comes out with a hat trick. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this Union Berlin team is obviously that they went through a lot of changes this summer. While other clubs, there was a lot of stagnation. They lost a lot of players and they signed a lot of players. I mean, on the leaving part, they have Andrich, who obviously we've just seen against Leverkusen. Marius Bülter went to Schalke. That was a player who I think scored a brace on that first time Dortmund traveled to Berlin and lost. Ingwertsen is out. Kade is gone. Griesbeck is gone. Rapp is gone. Christopher Lenz is gone. Gentner, of course, who, former Stuttgart player. I don't know. He wasn't too impressive for me at Berlin, but he was a good role player, I think. Florian Hübner is gone. Akaki Gogia, also role player, is gone. And then a couple more. And on the, other list, they added Kevin Möwald, for example. They have Rani Khedira, who they added. So Genki Haraguchi is there now. Öztunali, Oshipka, Timo Baumgartel, I think. I'm not entirely sure though on this one. But and not to forget Endo is there. My point being is that and I think they permanently signed Taiwo Avoni, who, you've talked about set pieces. Let's talk about counterattacks, because Avoni is someone who always pops up free in front of Dortmund's goal. So yeah, it's a lot of change they have, and it's interesting to see the evolution of Union Berlin, because to me, the first 1.5 seasons was more or less just them really trying to play against relegation. But it's changed then, especially since the addition of Kruse and whatnot, even though he was injured for quite a long time. I think they've evolved to a team that now knows how to deal with the ball, etc. Maybe a classic transformation, if you will, of teams that slowly grow into the Bundesliga. But they're not as uncomfortable now if they have the ball. They know how to build from the back a little better. It's not just trying to lump it up the field like in the first season, something you really just, I think you were barfing. So it's a much, much better team now. And I'm still also intrigued that they have retained defender Marvin Friedrich, because I think he's been highly rated. He's at some point even been linked to Dortmund, and It's surprising to see what kind of players they have in there. You know, say Robin Knoche is in there, and Genki Haraguchi is playing for them. Khedira, I think, is playing quite well for them, and Öztunali. So a lot of players that are proven Bundesliga players in my book, and especially in the Öztunali case, obviously a player that might have not have had the most glorious days in his career so far, but if you can make it work, then this can be a very formidable Bundesliga team, and especially the sort of team that really knows how to annoy Dortmund. So my hope, as I said in the beginning, is that they are really knackered from their first European group stage game, and that we'll see that on the pitch on Sunday. But who knows, maybe Dortmund will be a little knackered too after what was a straining round against Besiktas, and I totally failed to mention that in the other fixture, Ajax blew Sporting out 5-1 or something like that. Just wanted to add it in there. But Matthias, I want to be optimistic now that Dortmund have won so many games on the bounce, and it looks like the Freiburg game is sort of a slip up, but I don't want to say trap game really, because everyone and their dog can see this one coming, but Union Berlin are a team where you really, as you said, think, okay, Dortmund should win this, maybe even comfortably, but somehow you feel like it's going to be very, very tricky, especially since Union Berlin has made it a habit of vexing Dortmund, also in the cup match before their promotion, etc.
I feel incredibly uncomfortable when it comes to this game. It's like you said, a match that Dortmund should win on paper, but we know how well Urs Fischer can game plan specifically against Dortmund and teams like Dortmund. You can't forget this Union Berlin also gave Bayern a run for their money over the last 2 seasons. So I expect it to
beat Gladbach
not
and
be
make
pretty.
Gladbach look like absolute fools.
Yeah, but I mean, Gladbach right now are kind of fools. I mean,
but not
Gladbach,
that foolish. How they look,
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like Gladbach and Eintracht Frankfurt are the 2 teams that I'm kind of keeping an eye on because they're just kind of meh in a way. Union Berlin, yes, they've had a lot of turnover, but the core concepts are all still there. And when you look at the players they brought in, they are players that basically fulfill the roles that Urs Fischer needs, but are an upgrade over their predecessors. So they still fulfill that same role. I mean, none of the players you named, you look at and go, ooh, yeah, that's one hell of a player. None of them tick that, but in the right role and in the right system, they can be devastating to a team like Dortmund. That's the key thing. Another team kind of around where they are, I think that's actually more difficult for Union Berlin, because against Borussia Dortmund, they're going to sit deeper, they're going to mid to low block, and they're going to hit counterattacks and play set pieces. That is what they will do, and that's what they excel at. Dortmund cannot play into their hands, and Dortmund has done that. They did it against Freiburg. They've obviously done it a few times over the last few seasons. The good thing is versus Freiburg, it was, a thrown together side, especially defensively. Now the side's a little bit less thrown together defensively. Along with that, they've had now more time to work together as a team in competitive matches with Marco Rose's system. So I think that does help. But I do believe this to be a very difficult game. I think Dortmund's going to win. Spoilers.
Here.
But I don't think it'll be pretty, and I don't think it'll be easy. I look at it as Union Berlin are going to score. I have no doubt they're going to score. Dortmund cannot keep a clean sheet right now, and I do not think they're going to do it against Union Berlin. I do believe Borussia Dortmund are going to score more.
All right, so let's approach the scoreline prediction with this question, Matthias. First, you'll answer that, and you can then freely give whatever you think will be the actual scoreline. But how many goals do you think Dortmund must score in this game in order to win? The previous answer in the Bundesliga has been 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 on this one. And with that being said, and given that I've said Union Berlin are going to score, doesn't take a rocket scientist, even though Puma shirt designers may not be able to guess at this one. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Borussia Dortmund.
All right. So just we're clear, the previous one was Dortmund had to score more than 2 or 3, if I didn't say it correctly. I don't know really what to think, because Dortmund have, I think, had a really good attacking output recently, especially against sides like Leverkusen and such, but also against Besiktas, where those were also different games, you know. So I don't really know what to think, because I have a very positive feeling about this Dortmund team right now, and especially since it's a home game, and having like 25,000 people back in there, I think really does help. So I don't know, like my head says it's going to be a draw or loss, but but the other part of my head, because I don't even want to say my heart says, but I don't know, my intuition tells me Dortmund will win this. So maybe I'm jinxing it here, but I feel like this is going to be another 3-2 win for Dortmund, where it's going to be 2-2 at some point, and then Dortmund just edge it in the end because they are a little bit fitter. But that's about it. Yeah, I think Dortmund will need at least a 3 or 4 goal lead in order for me to not be nervous about the scoreline, because especially if there's a late push by Union Berlin, I'm not sure if Dortmund can survive that one either, because it's just going to be like half-field crosses and whatnot, and Dortmund have not been so good against this kind of stuff. So it's another real good indicator for Dortmund whether this Freiburg game was more or less just a slip up, or as I more suspect, there are some deeper lying issue with especially this Dortmund defense, and Union Berlin being able to take care of it. But on the other hand, if Dortmund are clinical, they will absolutely win, because Dortmund will have more than 3 or 4 chances in this game easily. So, yeah. Matthias, just please tell me everything will be all right, and we can all stop this podcast now for now.
It'll be all right, Stefan.
All right.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
2-1. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Then let's get the hell out of here, because I still have to edit this, and a little editing I do have to do. So, Matthias, please tell our listeners where to find you on the interwebs, where they can not interact with you, since you're already announced you're not even going to look.
Pre and post match, sure. You can find me on Twitter at Matthias Hook, where I occasionally do say something, even though I'm just not that active anymore, because I can't be bothered.
Yeah, just so busy. Surprise contractors, kids, all kinds of stuff going on there in Colorado.
And Twitter is deeply toxic cesspool, so there's that too.
Yeah, but I'm also there, so there's that. Anyway, you can follow me at Stefan Butzko. You can follow all of us at Yellowwallpod on Twitter and Facebook. And if you want to subscribe to this podcast in all the ways possible, go to iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Podcasts, etc. If you want to contribute financially, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall. And that leaves me with nothing else to say than, as always, thank you for listening and goodbye.